I'm going to punch in, double check all these after. Good.
Okay, I heard one story about you, and I hope it's true. So play along, even if it may not be true. So I was asking her, what's the quintessential Acciari story? And I had a couple different people tell me, if you want to know who he is, there was one time, and I don't know where it was, you showed up to either a practice or a game carrying your equipment, and you were bleeding. And apparently you had been in a car accident, but you didn't want to be late for practice or the game. You're nodding at me. This story is true.
Yeah.
What is this story?
I think it was a Saturday, and we were driving to Bridgeport in Massachusetts for a game.
So this is AHL?
No. This is, I had to have been maybe 10, 11.
Oh, wow.
And we were, if you're driving to the Bridgeport, rink, you're on a main street, and you're taking a left on, into the arena. And but that day, so there's a jail across the way, like on the right side of the street, and you're taking a left, and apparently an inmate had gotten out. So there was searches, and everyone's kind of driving and kind of looking over, and we're stopped waiting to take that left in the minivan, and it's me and my brother in the back. My parents are driving, and one car was just focused on the sheriffs and everyone looking for whoever, and we get rear-ended, and pretty good, kind of caved in the back of the whole van, and me and my brother are sitting in the back. We had the TV down in the middle seat, and I hit my head on the TV, cut my head a little bit, like bleeding. And like for me, like for any kid, games are, you don't want to miss a game.
Yeah.
Especially if you're driving an hour plus to go to a game, you want to play. So obviously we wait for the police, EMT show up, and it kind of, and I'm like, I got to get to the game. And you can't open up the back of the van because the back door's caved in. So I just reach in, kind of grab my bag from the back seat and pull it out, and I'm just starting. And I told my parents, like, hey, I'm walking, like the rink's right there, like I'm going. And my parents, like, they can't leave. They're like trying to figure everything out. And I grab my stuff, keep walking, and one of the parents saw me walking, and I'm like, they're like, get in, what happened? They see our van, and they picked me up, brought me in, and they're like, what's going on? And I'm like, nothing, we just gotta go. Ended up playing the game, scored a couple of goals, and I don't even remember how we got home, to be honest with you, if we drove that car or what happened.
Well, first of all, I didn't realize it would happen when you were 10 years old. I almost feel terrible joking about it now. But that's what people told me about you. If you want to know about Noel Acciari, a car accident is not going to keep him from hockey.
No, yeah.
What did your teammates say to you when you walked in?
I think they were more just in shock. Like they're like, what happened to your head? Because just bleeding and but kids will be kids. You just, all right, we got a game now. We got to go play.
All right, so I want to talk about growing up a little bit. You mentioned your parents in the first answer, and you've talked about your mother, Edna, and how she was hugely influential in your career. And you've said before that she used to have hand signals in the crowd if you weren't playing well. Like, what were these hand signals?
This one was like, what are you doing out there? Like that was probably the worst one. Or it's one of those where she looks away, like you make eye contact, and then if you get the thumbs up, you're doing well. And then this is pick it up, like start doing something. And so those were her main, I think, signals, and and also the facial expressions kind of gave away how she was feeling.
So she was the parent who really drove you through your hockey career.
Yeah.
Yes.
My dad was more very supportive. I couldn't have a bad game. He was just happy. I was out there having fun. And then my mom was like, what are you doing? You played awful out there today. So it was a good balance.
And you said that when she didn't talk to you, that was the worst.
That was, because it was like you just thought about it, and you try and talk. She's like, and she's just like, no, looking back, it's like, oh, she drove all that way there and back, and it's like, but she was a great support too. She was my biggest supporter, and can't thank her enough.
Now, you go to Providence College. You never get drafted. But when did you start to think that the NHL possibly could be on the radar for you?
That was a dream of mine growing up, always to play in the NHL. And, just after, I had a hiccup my freshman year, I had to sit out, red shirt. And then after that sophomore year, it was actually really good that I didn't have to lose a year of eligibility. Mm-hmm. So I knew I had my 4 years, and I took that year basically off from hockey. And but I think after my first actual playing year, I think that next year I was like, there's like a lot of talk about people interested, and I just wanted to continue my game. And I think Coach Lehman in Providence does a great job of getting guys ready for the NHL, and the way he coaches, and just how defense first. And I think that's helped me specifically, being my role of maybe starting in the D zone for a lot of draws, or just being relied on to keep pucks out of the net and be good in the D zone, and blocking shots. And he was big on finish every check. So I think he kind of helped me mold me into the player I am right now. But I think after that first year, I kind of thought I could do that.
Now, do you remember the first team that ever came to talk to you or anything like that?
I did go to Calgary's development camp after my first year playing, and then I think that kind of was like, wow, okay, I can play, I can do this. And I think that gave me a little more confidence going into next year. And so I think I would say, if anything, Calgary was the first to kind of give me a shot when I went to their camp. Now,
what people talk about you from Providence was the victory over Eichel and his team that year. What do you remember about that game?
Yeah, it was a wild game. Everyone remembers the big, we flipped the puck in and the goalie dropped it. But, going into it, Lehman had pre-scouted and said that he'd let a lot of funky goals in like that from off angles, or just kind of, just flips at him. I don't know, whatever it might be. But it was a great game start to finish. And, for us, Jack being the player that he is, and he's unbelievable. He had won, I think, every award that year, every championship he possibly could, except the national championship. And I think for us that was, not to take away from the whole BU team, they were great as well. A lot of good guys came out of that school that year, and who they had on that team. But we just we found a way, and it was a big win for us and our school, and it was a great day.
Somebody told me that the amount of talk on the ice that day between those two teams was unbelievable. Do you remember much about it?
I just know, we had good rivalry during the year. I think they may have had it 2-1, because I think we played them 3 times, or maybe it was 2. I don't know, or we split. But we knew those guys. We played them. We were in the same division or same league, Hockey East, and we knew it was going to be a battle. And with our team, and we were, I think, a little more grittier in a sense of and I think that's credit to Coach Lehman, just kind of making. We were going to play hard every shift, and But I don't remember the talk back and forth.
I was wondering, did you and him have anything going with each other?
No, him and I were, I was more just trying to keep up with him and stop him. But, I think he had a couple goals, or at least one goal that game. And again, he's a great player, and, he won everything he possibly could except that. So it was unique for us to win that.
When you played Buffalo or Vegas, would you ever say to him, Jack, you won everything you could except that?
No, I have a tattoo on my back, national championship, and I work out with him and skate with him sometimes in the summer. And he's like, hey, don't take your shirt off around me. But he's a good sport about it. He's a good guy.
Now, you could have gone anywhere. Now, I heard one of the reasons you ended up in Boston was John Ferguson was working for Boston at the time. He lived in Providence, and he saw you quite a bit, and he really pushed the Bruins to sign you. Was there anybody else? Like, was there a big decision for you to make between where to go?
I think once Boston was on the table, being from New England, I think it was kind of a no-brainer. And especially with Fergie kind of in my corner, being a PC guy and being an assistant GM and being in Providence, like I think that was a good fit for me. And the style of play that they play, I think, helped me kind of elevate how I play and, you know, and be able to play with some of those leaders like the Bergeons, the Charas, Marchands, all those guys. I think that helped me as a player on and off the ice. And, you know, being able to watch those guys win a Stanley Cup in 2011, cheering them on, to be able to eventually be in the locker room was special for me. And, again, being from New England and playing in New England, you know, couldn't get much better than that.
What was your first Marchand moment?
He's an awesome guy.
Yes.
He's like typical, you hate to play against him, you want him on your team.
Yes.
Would give you the shirt off his back if you needed, like that type of guy. He was always just great to me, like joked around and, you know, I think Krejci was one that kind of threw me for a loop. Awesome guy. Like I got to know him really well. And the one thing was when I first got called up, and I didn't know his dry sense of humor at the time because I'm young, I'm new, and I just want to kind of
be quiet.
Yeah, and we do a drill, and I don't know if I missed the pass or I gave him a bad pass, and then he looks at me and he goes, "That's why you're in that color and I'm in this color."
Krejci said that to you,
and I was like, "This," just like didn't know what to say, or just okay. I just like I want to go back to Providence. But he joked around, like big smile after. But like I didn't know that at the time, and he's a big jokester and he's a great guy. Like, and once you figure that out, and you can give it right back to him, and but that was my like first moment. I was like, oh my gosh, like, what's going on? But no, it was funny.
There are a couple we only have a limited amount of time, but there's a couple ones I want to get to. Number one, tell me the story about Keith Yandel at Frank Vetrano's wedding.
Yeah, that was a great time. So Frank Vetrano got married a couple summers ago, and we were at his golf course, and so they had these cabins on the golf course that the Yandels, the Ekblads, and myself stayed at, all in the one cabin. And you know, we golfed that morning of the wedding, had a great time on the course. And then, so there's this giant hill going up to our cabin, and we had golf carts. Like you could just take the road, walk the road, easy. Keith thought he could, I don't know what time it was, thought it would be easier just to walk the hill.
Was there alcohol involved?
There was a little alcohol involved.
Just checking, yeah.
Thought he could get up the hill, and next thing you know, like we're watching from like the wedding, and like, what's Keith doing? He's trying to go up the hill. Next thing, like, and there's a ton of fescue, probably hip high. And next thing you know, we look back like, where'd Keith go? We're like, we don't see him anymore. So we go down, check. Keith, he's laying in the fescue. And so we're like, we get him back up to the cabin. I don't know why we ended up climbing up still. We were determined to get him up there. But, yeah, he went up to the cabin for a little and then popped back out and made it back to the wedding. And but finding him in the fescue was the icing on the cake.
I wondered about, when you got to Florida, there was a question about Yandel staying in the lineup. What do you remember about that team meeting? Because I heard you guys really fought for Yandel's streak to continue.
Yeah. You know, it's an incredible accomplishment, you know, to play in so many consecutive games, and when things were getting going for camp and stuff, and seeing that he's the 7th, 8th D, or he's not in the group in preseason, we were all kind of like, what's going on? And and like we had a little group, and we thought, we were like, this isn't right. Like there's no reason why he should not be playing. So like we left it like the assistants and like some of the assistants went to coaches, GMs, and was like, hey, he's gonna play. And so we basically were like, we want him to play. He's part, like we need him. And that next day he was back in the like 60s, and he was back out there and didn't miss a game. But we just felt that he should have been out there with us. Like, he's a big part of the team, and he brought the energy every day. Even when this was going on, like, no one knew, because that's just the type of guy Keith is. Like, he's not going to put a sour face on. He's going to come in, be happy, goofy like he always is, and and that's why he's such a good locker room guy. And we felt that we need him here.
Last one. What's the biggest thing you've noticed since you got here about this team?
Just how on top of everything they are. It's just anything you need, you have. And I think Kyle's done a great job with just making sure that we have everything that we need to succeed. And I think that helps us and goes a long way and for the players. And just how family oriented it is. Like, it's just a big group, and everyone just wants to make sure everyone's good. And I think that's really, really important. And for guys that, especially for coming over from trade, they were very adamant in getting families here to make us feel as comfortable and kind of make the transition as smooth as possible. And in the locker room too, the guys have been great. And and I think we have a special team, and I think we know that, and how close they are, and they just we jumped right in and just kind of took off. And we just want to make sure we're all focused and having a long run here.
Thanks so much, Noel. Really appreciate it. Now, was that the story you were expecting?
That was, yeah.
That was it, eh? That's amazing. That one follows you around. I had 3 people say you've got to ask them the story about the car accident.
Yeah, no, that was the one I figured was coming.
Was that?